Here's a truth that will offend most people in today's world. The reason you're not successful isn't because of your boss, your spouse, your background, or your circumstances. It's because you've never learned to think like a champion. You've been trained to think like a victim. Society has taught you to make excuses instead of taking responsibility. Your education system taught you to follow instructions instead of thinking for yourself. Your family taught you to play it safe instead of taking calculated risks. The media taught you to focus on problems instead of solutions. And now you wonder why your life isn't working out the way you want? The uncomfortable truth is that most people are walking around with someone else's thoughts in their heads. They're living someone else's limitations, fears, and beliefs. They've never learned to program their own mind. They're letting other people decide what they think, how they feel, and what they believe is possible. Champions reject this mental slavery and take control of their own thinking. Let me tell you something about champions that most people never understand. They think champions are born different, with some special talent or gift that the rest of us don't have. But after studying successful people for decades, I can tell you that's not true. Champions aren't made in the gym or on the field. Champions are made in the mind. You see, the difference between a champion and an average person isn't in their muscles or their natural abilities. It's in how they think. It's in how they train their minds to handle pressure, to stay focused when everyone else gets distracted, and to keep going when everyone else gives up. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have. But here's the problem. Most people never learn how to use it properly. They let their minds run wild, thinking whatever thoughts happen to come up, reacting to whatever emotions happen to surface. That's like trying to drive a car without knowing how to steer. You might move forward, but you're not going anywhere specific. And you're probably going to crash. Champions understand something that average people don't. Your mind needs training, just like your body needs training. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training your legs, would you? You wouldn't expect to lift heavy weights without building your muscles first. But somehow people think they can achieve great things without training their minds. Let me ask you this. How much time do you spend each day training your mind? Not just using it, but actually training it. Most people spend more time training their bodies than their minds. They'll go to the gym for an hour, but they won't spend 10 minutes training their thoughts. Here's what I learned from studying champions. They all have one thing in common. They've learned to control their thoughts instead of letting their thoughts control them. They've learned to focus their minds on what they want to achieve, not on what they're afraid might happen. They've learned to think like winners even when they're losing. The mind is like a garden. If you don't plant good seeds and tend to it regularly, weeds will grow. And weeds in your mind are negative thoughts, doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs. These mental weeds will choke out any possibility of success if you let them. But when you train your mind like a champion, you become the gardener of your thoughts. You decide what grows in your mental garden. You plant seeds of confidence, determination, and possibility. You water them with positive self-talk and feed them with good books, inspiring conversations, and clear goals. Most people are walking around with minds full of weeds. They're constantly thinking about what's wrong, what's not working, what they can't do. Then they wonder why their lives aren't working out the way they want. It's simple. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If your mind is full of weeds, your life will be full of problems. Champions know this secret. They guard their minds like a treasure because they know that's where everything begins. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every moment of excellence starts with a thought. And if you can control your thoughts, you can control your results. Here's something that will change your life if you really understand it. You become what you think about most of the time. Think about successful people and you'll start acting like a successful person. Think about failure and you'll find ways to fail. Think about problems and you'll create more problems. Think about solutions and you'll become a problem solver. The human mind is the most sophisticated computer ever created. But like any computer, it operates on whatever program you put into it. If you program it with negative thoughts, doubt, and fear, that's what you'll get out of it. If you program it with positive thoughts, confidence, and clear goals, that's what you'll get out of it. Most people are running mental programs that were installed by other people, their parents, their teachers, their friends, society. They're walking around with other people's thoughts in their heads, other people's limitations, other people's fears. Champions delete those programs and install their own. The question is, who's programming your mind? Are you in control of what goes into your mental computer, or are you letting other people decide what you think? Are you choosing your thoughts, or are your thoughts choosing you? Training your mind like a champion means taking full responsibility for what happens between your ears. It means becoming aware of your thoughts and choosing them deliberately. It means feeding your mind with the right information and starving it of the wrong information. Think about what you consumed mentally today. What did you read? What did you listen to? What conversations did you have? What did you watch? All of these things are programming your mind. Champions are very careful about what they allow into their mental space because they know it affects everything they do. Here's a simple test. At the end of each day, ask yourself if the thoughts you had today moved you closer to your goals or further away from them. If they moved you closer, great. If they moved you further away, you need to change your mental diet. The mind is like a muscle. The more you use it in the right way, the stronger it gets. The more you practice thinking positive thoughts, the easier it becomes. The more you practice focusing on solutions instead of problems, the more natural it becomes. But if you don't use it, or if you use it the wrong way, it gets weak and unreliable. Champions understand that mental training is a daily practice, not a one-time event. They don't just think positive thoughts when they feel like it. They train their minds every single day, whether they feel like it or not. They make it a habit, like brushing their teeth or eating breakfast. The cost of not training your mind is enormous. When you don't control your thoughts, they control you. When you don't direct your focus, it gets scattered. When you don't choose your mental state, you become a victim of circumstances. You give away your power to whatever happens to you or whatever other people say or do. But when you train your mind like a champion, you take back your power. You become the director of your own mental movie instead of just being an actor in someone else's script. You choose your thoughts, your focus, your emotional state, and ultimately your results. Now let me share with you the 4 pillars of mental championship. These are the foundation stones that every champion builds their mental training on. Master these 4 pillars, and you'll have the mental strength to achieve anything you set your mind to. The first pillar is the discipline of thought control. This means learning to choose your thoughts instead of letting your thoughts choose you. Most people think that thoughts just happen to them, like the weather. But champions know that thoughts are something you can control, direct, and manage. Thought control doesn't mean trying to stop all thoughts. That's impossible. It means learning to observe your thoughts and choosing which ones to focus on and which ones to let go. It means developing the ability to redirect your thinking when it starts going in the wrong direction. Here's how you develop thought control. Start paying attention to your thoughts throughout the day. Notice when your mind starts focusing on negative things, problems, or fears. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, don't judge yourself. Just gently redirect your focus to something positive or productive. It's like training a puppy. When the puppy goes where it shouldn't go, you don't beat it, you just guide it back to where it should be. Do the same with your thoughts. When they wander into negative territory, gently guide them back to positive territory. The second pillar is the power of consistent daily habits. Champions know that what you do daily determines what you become ultimately. They don't rely on motivation or inspiration to train their minds. They create systems and routines that ensure they're feeding their minds with the right thoughts every single day. This means having a morning routine that sets your mind up for success. It means having an evening routine that helps you process the day and prepare for tomorrow. It means having daily habits of reading, listening to educational content, and reflecting on your goals and progress. Consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to spend 10 minutes a day training your mind than to spend 2 hours once a week. The mind responds better to regular, consistent input than to sporadic bursts of activity. The third pillar is learning to handle failure and setbacks. Champions understand that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. They train their minds to see setbacks as feedback, not as final verdicts. They develop the mental resilience to bounce back from disappointments and keep moving forward. This pillar is crucial because everyone faces challenges and setbacks. The difference between champions and average people isn't that champions don't fail, it's that they've trained their minds to handle failure differently. They see it as information, not as identity. They ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why does this always happen to me? The fourth pillar is developing unwavering focus and concentration. In today's world, there are more distractions than ever before. Social media, news, entertainment, and endless options for how to spend your time. Champions train their minds to cut through all this noise and focus on what really matters. Focus is like a laser beam. When light is scattered, it's weak, but when it's focused into a laser, can cut through steel. Your mind works the same way. When your thoughts are scattered, they're weak, but when they're focused, they become incredibly powerful. These four pillars work together to create a strong foundation for mental championship. You can't have one without the others. Thought control without consistency won't last. Consistency without resilience will crumble at the first setback. Resilience without focus will waste your energy on the wrong things. Champions build all four pillars simultaneously. They work on controlling their thoughts while building consistent habits. They develop resilience while sharpening their focus. They understand that mental training is a holistic process that requires attention to all aspects of mental development. Here's what happens when you master these four pillars. You become mentally unshakable. Circumstances that would derail other people don't affect you. Challenges that would discourage others actually energize you. Setbacks that would stop others become stepping stones for you. You develop what I call mental immunity. Just like your body can develop immunity to diseases, your mind can develop immunity to negative influences. When someone tries to bring you down with criticism or negativity, it doesn't affect you. When you face a difficult situation, you don't panic or get overwhelmed. You stay calm and focused because you've trained your mind to handle whatever comes your way. But here's the key. You have to practice these pillars daily. You can't just read about them or think about them. You have to actually do them. Mental training is like physical training. You don't get stronger by reading about exercise. You get stronger by actually exercise. The same is true for your mind. You don't get mentally stronger by just learning about mental training. You get mentally stronger by actually training your mind every single day. You have to put in the work just like champions do. Now let me tell you about programming your mind for success. Your mind is like a computer, and just like a computer, it operates on whatever program you put into it. If you program it with negative thoughts and limiting beliefs, that's what you'll get out of it. If you program it with positive thoughts and empowering beliefs, that's what you'll get out of it. Most people are running mental programs that were installed by other people. Their parents told them they weren't smart enough. Their teachers told them they weren't talented enough. Their friends told them they couldn't do it. Society told them to be realistic and not dream too big. These programs are running in the background of their minds, affecting every decision they make and every action they take. They're like viruses in a computer, slowing everything down and causing problems. Champions understand that they need to delete these old programs and install new ones. They need to reprogram their minds with thoughts, beliefs, and expectations that support their goals and dreams. Here's how programming works. Your mind accepts as true whatever you tell it consistently. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, your mind will believe it and find evidence to support it. If you tell yourself you're capable of great things, your mind will believe that too and find ways to make it happen. The key word here is consistently. You can't just tell yourself something positive once and expect it to stick. You have to repeat it over and over until it becomes automatic. You have to program your mind through repetition. This is why champions use affirmations, visualizations, and positive self-talk. They're not just being positive for the sake of being positive. They're actually reprogramming their minds to support their success. But here's something important. You can't just program your mind with positive thoughts and ignore everything else. You also have to be careful about what you allow into your mental space. Remember the old saying about computers? Garbage in, garbage out. If you're feeding your mind with negative news, toxic conversations, and limiting content, you're programming it for failure. Champions are very selective about what they consume mentally. They choose their books carefully. They choose their conversations carefully. They choose their entertainment carefully. They understand that everything they consume is programming their minds. Think about your mental diet. What are you feeding your mind each day? Are you reading books that inspire and educate you? Or are you consuming content that brings you down? Are you having conversations that challenge you to grow? Or are you listening to people complain and make excuses? Your mental diet is more important than your physical diet. What you feed your mind affects everything you do, think, and feel. Champions understand this, so they're very careful about what they allow into their mental space. Here's a simple rule. If it doesn't move you closer to your goals, don't put it in your mind. This means being selective about what you read, watch, listen to, and talk about. It means surrounding yourself with positive influences and avoiding negative ones. But programming your mind isn't just about avoiding negative input. It's also about actively seeking out positive input. Champions are constantly feeding their minds with books, audios, videos, and conversations that support their growth and success. They read biographies of successful people to learn how they think. They listen to educational content to expand their knowledge. They surround themselves with other successful people to absorb their mindset. They're constantly upgrading their mental software. This is why successful people seem to get more successful over time. They're not just working harder, they're thinking better. They've programmed their minds to see opportunities where others see problems. They've trained their minds to focus on solutions instead of obstacles. The beautiful thing about mental programming is that it's never too late to start. No matter what programs are currently running in your mind, you can change them. You can delete the old programs that don't serve you and install new ones that support your success. It takes time and consistency, but it works. I've seen people completely transform their lives by changing how they think. They didn't change their circumstances first, they changed their minds first. And when they changed their minds, their circumstances began to change. The process is simple, but not easy. Simple because the steps are straightforward. Not easy because it requires discipline and consistency. You have to be willing to monitor your thoughts, choose your input carefully, and practice new ways of thinking every single day. But the results are worth it. When you program your mind for success, you start seeing opportunities everywhere. You start taking action on your goals. You start believing in yourself and your abilities. You start acting like the successful person you want to become. Mental programming is like planting a garden. First you have to clear out the weeds, negative thoughts and limiting beliefs. Then you have to plant good seeds, positive thoughts and empowering beliefs. Then you have to water and tend to your garden every day, consistent positive input and practice. If you do this consistently, your mental garden will flourish. You'll have a mind full of thoughts that support your success instead of sabotage it. You'll have beliefs that empower you instead of limit you. You'll have the mental foundation to achieve anything you set your mind to. Now let me share with you the daily practice of mental training. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where champions separate themselves from everyone else. They don't just think about mental training, they do it every single day. The morning is the most important time for mental training. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Champions have morning routines that prepare their minds for success. They don't just roll out of bed and react to whatever happens. They take control of their mental state first thing in the morning. Here's what a champion's morning mental training routine might look like. They wake up and immediately focus on something they're grateful for. Gratitude is like a mental vitamin. It instantly puts your mind in a positive state and sets you up for a good day. Then they review their goals and visualize themselves achieving them. They don't just think about what they want, they see it, feel it, and experience it in their minds. They make their goals so real in their minds that achieving them becomes inevitable. They also practice positive self-talk. They tell themselves things like, I'm capable of great things, I'm getting better every day, and I can handle whatever comes my way. This isn't just positive thinking, it's mental programming. They're installing thoughts that will serve them throughout the day. Finally, they set their intention for the day. They decide how they want to show up, what they want to accomplish, and what kind of person they want to be. They don't leave their mental state to chance. They choose it deliberately. Visualization is one of the most powerful mental training techniques champions use. But most people don't understand how to do it properly. They think visualization is just daydreaming or wishful thinking. But effective visualization is much more than that. When you visualize properly, you're not just seeing pictures in your mind. You're using all your senses to create a complete mental experience. You see yourself achieving your goals, but you also hear the sounds, feel the emotions, and experience the sensations of success. Champions visualize in great detail. They don't just see themselves winning, they see themselves going through the process of winning. They visualize handling challenges, overcoming obstacles, and performing at their best. They make it so real in their minds that when they face the actual situation, they've already been there mentally. Visualization works because your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. When you visualize yourself succeeding, your subconscious mind accepts it as real and starts working to make it happen in reality. But visualization isn't just about seeing the end result. It's also about rehearsing the process. Champions visualize themselves practicing, preparing, and performing. They see themselves handling difficult situations with grace and skill. They mentally rehearse success until it becomes automatic. Self-talk is another crucial element of daily mental training. Champions understand that the conversation they have with themselves is the most important conversation they'll have all day. They're very careful about how they talk to themselves because they know it affects everything they do. Most people have terrible self-talk. They're constantly criticizing themselves, doubting their abilities, and focusing on what's wrong. They would never talk to a friend the way they talk to themselves. But champions have learned to be their own best friend and biggest supporter. They practice positive self-talk throughout the day. When they make a mistake, they don't beat themselves up. They say something like, "That's okay, I'm learning," or "I'll do better next time." When they face a challenge, they don't panic. They say, "I can handle this," or "This is an opportunity to grow." The key to effective self-talk is to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you care about. Be encouraging, supportive, and kind. Remember, you're with yourself 24 hours a day, so you might as well be good company. Building mental resilience is another important aspect of daily mental training. Life is going to throw challenges at you. That's guaranteed. But champions train their minds to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward. They do this by reframing challenges as opportunities. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, they see them as feedback. Instead of getting discouraged by obstacles, they get energized by the chance to overcome them. Mental resilience is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Champions deliberately put themselves in challenging situations to build their mental resilience. They take on difficult projects, set ambitious goals, and push themselves out of their comfort zone. When you practice mental resilience daily, you develop what I call mental toughness. You become unshakable in the face of adversity. You develop the ability to stay calm under pressure and keep moving forward when others would give up. Creating mental habits that stick is crucial for long-term success. Champions understand that success isn't about what you do once in a while, it's about what you do consistently. They create mental habits that support their goals and dreams. The key to creating lasting mental habits is to start small and be consistent. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one mental habit and focus on it until it becomes automatic. Then add another one. For example, you might start with a simple gratitude practice. Every morning, think of 3 things you're grateful for. Do this for 30 days until it becomes automatic. Then add another habit, like positive self-talk or visualization. The key is consistency, not perfection. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be consistent. Even if you miss a day or two, just get back on track and keep going. Over time, these small daily habits will compound into massive results. Measuring your mental progress is important because what gets measured gets managed. Champions track their mental training just like they track their physical training. They pay attention to their thoughts, emotions, and mental state throughout the day. You can measure your mental progress by asking yourself questions like, am I thinking more positively than I was last month? Am I handling challenges better than I used to? Am I more focused on my goals? Am I less affected by other people's negativity? Keep a mental training journal where you write down your thoughts, insights, and progress. This helps you see how far you've come and identify areas where you need to improve. It also helps you stay accountable to your mental training practice. Remember, mental training is a lifelong journey, not a destination. You never stop learning and growing. Even champions continue to work on their mental game throughout their careers. They understand that the mind, like the body, needs continuous training to stay strong and sharp. The daily practice of mental training requires discipline, but it's the most rewarding discipline you can develop. When you train your mind consistently, you're not just improving your performance, you're improving your entire life. You become more confident, more focused, more resilient, and more successful in everything you do. Finally, let me share with you what it means to live like a mental champion. This isn't just about using mental training techniques to achieve specific goals. It's about making mental mastery a way of life. It's about becoming the kind of person who thinks, acts, and lives like a champion in every area of life. Living like a mental champion means making mental training a lifestyle, not just a technique you use when you need it. It means constantly working on your mindset, always looking for ways to improve your thinking, and never settling for mediocrity in your mental game. Champions understand that mental training isn't something you do for a few months and then stop. It's something you do for the rest of your life. Just like you need to exercise regularly to stay physically fit, you need to train your mind regularly to stay mentally fit. This means having daily habits that support your mental development. It means reading books that challenge your thinking. It means having conversations that expand your perspective. It means constantly learning and growing as a person. When you live like a mental champion, you handle pressure and stress differently than other people. While others get overwhelmed and stressed out, you stay calm and focused. You've trained your mind to handle whatever comes your way. You don't avoid pressure, you thrive under it. You don't run from challenges, you run toward them. You don't get discouraged by setbacks, you get motivated by them. You've developed the mental strength to handle anything life throws at you. This mental strength comes from consistent daily practice. You've trained your mind so thoroughly that thinking like a champion becomes automatic. You don't have to force positive thoughts. They come naturally. You don't have to work hard to stay focused. Focus becomes your default state. The compound effect of consistent mental training is incredible. Just like compound interest in finances, small daily improvements in your mental training compound over time into massive results. The person who practices mental training for years becomes virtually unstoppable. They develop what I call mental momentum. Once they get going, they keep going. They develop mental habits that support their success automatically. They don't have to think about thinking positively, they just do it naturally. This is why successful people often say that success gets easier over time. It's not because their circumstances get easier, it's because their minds get stronger. They've trained their minds to see opportunities where others see obstacles. They've developed mental patterns that support success. Teaching others is one of the best ways to reinforce your own mental training. When you share what you've learned about mental training with others, you strengthen your own understanding and commitment. You become more accountable to your own mental development. Champions understand that success isn't just about personal achievement. It's about helping others achieve success too. They share their knowledge, mentor others, and create a positive influence in their communities. This not only helps others, but also reinforces their own mental training. When you teach someone else how to think like a champion, you're forced to clarify your own thinking. You have to understand concepts deeply enough to explain them to others. This process strengthens your own mental training and makes you a better champion. Legacy thinking is another important aspect of living like a mental champion. Champions don't just think about short-term results. They think about the long-term impact of their mental training. They understand that the habits they develop today will determine the kind of person they become tomorrow. They ask themselves questions like, what kind of person do I want to be in 10 years? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? How can my mental training today contribute to my long-term vision? This long-term perspective helps them stay motivated when things get tough. They understand that mental training isn't just about achieving specific goals. It's about becoming the best version of themselves. It's about developing the mental strength to handle whatever life brings. Champions also understand that mental training is never complete. There's always room for improvement. They stay humble and keep learning. They read new books, learn new techniques, and constantly challenge themselves to grow. They don't get complacent when they achieve success. Instead, they use their success as motivation to keep improving. They understand that the mind, like the body, needs continuous training to stay strong and sharp. The beautiful thing about mental training is that it affects every area of your life. When you train your mind to think like a champion, you become a better parent, a better spouse, a better friend, a better employee, and a better person overall. You bring champion-level thinking to everything you do. You approach challenges with confidence. You handle setbacks with grace. You treat others with respect and kindness. You become someone that others want to be around. This is the true power of mental training. It's not just about achieving external success. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts success. It's about developing the mental strength and character that make you unstoppable in life. So let me challenge you. Are you ready to train your mind like a champion? Are you ready to take control of your thoughts, develop mental resilience, and create the mental habits that will support your success? The choice is yours. You can continue thinking the way you've always thought and get the results you've always gotten. Or you can start training your mind like a champion and begin creating the life you've always wanted. Remember, champions are made in the mind. Everything you achieve in life starts with a thought. Every breakthrough, every success, every moment of excellence begins in your mind. When you train your mind like a champion, you give yourself the foundation to achieve anything you set your mind to. The time to start is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more motivated. Now, today, this moment. Your mind is waiting for you to take control and start training it like the champion you were meant to be. Start with small steps. Choose one mental training technique and practice it consistently, whether it's gratitude, visualization, positive self-talk, or goal setting. Pick one and commit to doing it every day for the next 30 days. Track your progress. Pay attention to how your thinking changes. Notice how your confidence grows. Observe how your results improve. When you see the power of mental training in action, you'll be motivated to continue and expand your practice. Remember, mental training is a skill that gets better with practice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. What seems difficult at first will become automatic over time. You'll develop mental habits that support your success without even thinking about them. The mind is the most powerful tool you have. When you learn to use it properly, there's no limit to what you can achieve. You can overcome any obstacle, achieve any goal, and become any person you want to be. Champions understand this. They've learned to harness the power of their minds and use it to create extraordinary results in their lives. They've discovered that success isn't about having the right circumstances, it's about having the right mindset. You have the same mind that champions have. You have the same potential. You have the same ability to think, learn, and grow. The only difference is that champions have trained their minds to support their success, while most people let their minds work against them. But that can change starting today. You can begin training your mind like a champion right now. You can start developing the mental habits that will support your success. You can begin programming your mind for achievement and excellence. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your journey to mental championship begins with a single thought. Make that thought a positive one. Make it a thought that supports your goals and dreams. Make it a thought worthy of the champion you're becoming. Your mind is waiting for you to take control. Your potential is waiting for you to unleash it. Your dreams are waiting for you to make them reality. It all starts with training your mind like a champion. The choice is yours. The time is now. The power is in your hands. Train your mind like a champion and become the person you were meant to be. But let me tell you something else that's crucial for your success. Mental training isn't just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about developing what I call mental intelligence. This is the ability to understand how your mind works and how to use it most effectively. Most people are walking around with incredibly powerful minds, but they're using them like a sledgehammer when they should be using them like a surgeon's scalpel. They're not using precision. They're just hoping that if they think hard enough, somehow things will work out. Mental intelligence means understanding the different types of thinking and knowing when to use each one. There's creative thinking for generating new ideas. There's critical thinking for evaluating options. There's strategic thinking for planning your approach. There's tactical thinking for executing your plans. Champions develop all these types of thinking. They don't just rely on one way of thinking. They understand that different situations require different mental approaches. When they're setting goals, they use strategic thinking. When they're solving problems, they use critical thinking. When they're looking for opportunities, they use creative thinking. Here's something that will transform your results. Learn to think in systems, not just in goals. Most people set goals and then wonder why they don't achieve them. They're focused on the outcome, but they haven't created the system to produce that outcome. Champions think differently. They understand that goals are important, but systems are more important. A goal is what you want to achieve. A system is the process you follow to achieve it. Goals give you direction, but systems give you results. For example, if your goal is to lose weight, your system might include eating healthy meals, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep. If your goal is to build a business, your system might include daily prospecting, continuous learning, and consistent action. The beautiful thing about systems is that they work even when you don't feel motivated. When you have a good system in place, you don't have to rely on willpower or inspiration. You just follow the system and it produces results automatically. Champions create systems for everything. They have systems for their morning routine, their learning process, their goal achievement, and their mental training. They understand that consistent systems produce consistent results. Well, let me share with you another secret of mental champions. They've learned to manage their mental energy, not just their time. Most people focus on time management, but champions focus on energy management. They understand that having time means nothing if you don't have the mental energy to use it effectively. Mental energy is like a battery. You start each day with a full charge, but everything you do drains it. Making decisions drains it. Dealing with stress drains it. Focusing on difficult tasks drains it. Even thinking about problems drains it. Champions are very careful about how they use their mental energy. They do their most important work when their mental energy is highest, usually in the morning. They avoid energy-draining activities like endless meetings, negative conversations, and mindless entertainment. They also know how to recharge their mental energy. They take breaks throughout the day. They get enough sleep. They exercise regularly. They spend time in nature. They practice meditation or other relaxation techniques. Most people burn through their mental energy early in the day and then wonder why they can't focus or perform well in the afternoon. Champions preserve their mental energy for the things that matter most. Here's another crucial element of mental training: learning to ask better questions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Champions have learned to ask empowering questions that lead to empowering answers. Most people ask disempowering questions like, "Why does this always happen to me?" or "Why can't I ever get ahead?" These questions focus your mind on problems and limitations. They program your mind to look for evidence of why things won't work. Champions ask empowering questions like, "How can I turn this challenge into an opportunity?" or "What can I learn from this situation?" These questions focus your mind on solutions and possibilities. They program your mind to look for ways to succeed. The questions you ask yourself become the directions you give your mind. Your mind will always find an answer to whatever question you ask it. If you ask it why you can't succeed, it will find reasons why you can't succeed. If you ask it how you can succeed, it will find ways for you to succeed. Start paying attention to the questions you ask yourself throughout the day. Are they empowering or disempowering? Are they focused on problems or solutions? Are they moving you forward or holding you back? Champions also understand the power of mental models. A mental model is a way of understanding how something works. It's like a map that helps you navigate through complex situations. The better your mental models, the better your decisions and results. For example, if you have a good mental model of how money works, you'll make better financial decisions. If you have a good mental model of how relationships work, you'll have better relationships. If you have a good mental model of how success works, you'll be more successful. Champions are constantly updating their mental models. They read books, study successful people, and learn from their experiences. They understand that the world is constantly changing, so their mental models need to be constantly updated too. Most people are operating with outdated mental models. They're trying to navigate today's world with yesterday's thinking. That's like trying to use an old map to navigate a new city. You'll get lost and frustrated. Update your mental models regularly. Read books about your field. Study successful people in your industry. Learn from experts. Attend seminars and workshops. The better your mental models, the better your results. Now let me tell you about one more aspect of mental training that's often overlooked: the power of mental rehearsal. This is different from visualization. Visualization is about seeing yourself succeed. Mental rehearsal is about practicing how you'll handle different situations. Champions don't just visualize success, they mentally rehearse all the steps that lead to success. They practice handling objections. They practice dealing with difficult people. They practice overcoming obstacles. They practice performing under pressure. Mental rehearsal works because it prepares your mind for real-world situations. When you've mentally rehearsed something, you're not caught off guard when it actually happens. You've already practiced your response so you can perform with confidence. Athletes use mental rehearsal all the time. They mentally practice their performance before competitions. They rehearse their technique, their strategy, and their responses to different situations. This mental practice improves their actual performance. You can use mental rehearsal in any area of your life. If you have an important presentation, mentally rehearse it beforehand. If you have a difficult conversation coming up, mentally rehearse how you'll handle it. If you're starting a new project, mentally rehearse the steps you'll take. Mental rehearsal also helps you identify potential problems before they happen. When you mentally walk through a situation, you can spot potential obstacles and plan how to handle them. This prevents problems from catching you off guard. Champions also understand the importance of mental flexibility. This is the ability to change your thinking when circumstances change. Rigid thinking leads to rigid results. Flexible thinking leads to flexible results. The world is constantly changing, and what worked yesterday might not work today. Champions adapt their thinking to match changing circumstances. They're not attached to one way of thinking or one way of doing things. Mental flexibility means being open to new ideas, new approaches, and new possibilities. It means being willing to change your mind when you get new information. It means being curious instead of judgmental. Most people resist change because it requires them to think differently. But champions embrace change because they understand that change creates opportunity. They see change as a chance to grow and improve. Develop mental flexibility by exposing yourself to different perspectives. Read books by authors who think differently than you do. Talk to people who have different backgrounds and experiences. Travel to new places. Try new things. The more flexible you're thinking, the more adaptable you become. The more adaptable you become, the more successful you become. In a rapidly changing world, adaptability is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Finally, let me leave you with this thought. Mental training is not a destination. It's a journey. You never arrive at a place where you can stop training your mind. Even the greatest champions continue to work on their mental game throughout their lives. The moment you stop training your mind is the moment you start going backward. Your mind is either growing or shrinking. It's either getting stronger or getting weaker. There's no standing still. Make mental training a lifelong commitment. Make it as important as eating, sleeping, and breathing. Make it a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. Make it the foundation upon which you build everything else in your life. The rewards of mental training are enormous. You'll achieve more than you ever thought possible. You'll handle challenges with grace and confidence. You'll inspire others with your mental strength. You'll create a life of meaning and fulfillment, but most importantly, you'll become the person you were meant to be. You'll fulfill your potential and make your unique contribution to the world. You'll leave a legacy that will inspire others long after you're gone. The choice is yours. The time is now. The power is in your hands. Train your mind like a champion and watch as your life transforms in ways you never imagined possible. Remember this: every champion started as a beginner. Every expert was once a novice. Every master was once a student. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent or luck. It's the willingness to train their minds day after day, year after year. You have everything you need to become a mental champion. You have a mind capable of incredible things. You have the ability to choose your thoughts. You have the power to control your focus. You have the capacity to learn and grow. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Champions don't wait, they act. They start where they are, with what they have, and begin the journey of mental training. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. The person you become tomorrow is determined by how you train your mind today. Every thought you choose, every mental habit you develop, every moment you spend training your mind is an investment in your future success. Start today. Start now. Take the first step on your journey to mental championship. Your mind is waiting. Your potential is calling. Your dreams are depending on it. Train your mind like a champion and become unstoppable.